Yes. So today's block 2 of MES 082, that is human development during early childhood education or early childhood age, and 3 units we have completed in block 1, and today's unit 4, that is nature of psychology. So in today's session, we will understand the meaning and nature of psychology, and what are the different branches of psychology, and what is the significance of psychology, and what is the importance of educational psychology. Means here educational word has been added, so it becomes kind of very special for a teacher that education psychology should also be aware to all the teachers. So first, let us know what is psychology. The word psychology is made of two Greek words. First is psycho plus logos. Psycho means soul. Soul means in Hindi that is called Atma. So psyche means soul and logos means science. So it means the psychology is the science of soul. It is there are various educationists who believe that this psychology is science of soul. But as a science, psychology also use systematic methods to observe, describe, predict, and explain human behavior and mental process. Psychology is a science which deal with the study, therefore it is of human behavior. But psychology is not like other natural science like physics, chemistry, and all, because many experiments that can be observed, that can be seen in physics and chemistry, but it is not true for psychology. Psychology cannot be an absolutely correct science. Yes, because it has kind of the nature of psychology is kind of a social science, but it cannot be taken as a correct science. But the method used in studying and understanding the subjects are becoming systematic, increasingly scientific. So we can say, or we can conclude, the psychology is a science. The scholar faced many problems in taking psychology as a science of soul. So they think in other word. The word soul is a philosophical word whose meaning is repeated with mysterious connotations. Secondly, the form of soil is indefinite, that cannot be seen. Soil cannot be seen. If soul cannot be seen, then how experiment can be done on soul? Some people use it in the meaning of God, means soul is compared with the God, and others in the form of power of energy of living beings. Some people consider soul to be one, and some numerous. Therefore, many psychologists observe that it will not be right to term psychology as a science of soul. So these are the beliefs of psychologists. Some think, or some have opinion that psychology is a science of soul, but others are not agree that science psychology is a science of soul. Next, to avoid the above difficulties or above differences or above opinions differences, the scholars altered the definitions. In other words, the definition of psychology, they now called psychology is a science of mind, means the soul was replaced by mind over the period. So psychologists believe that psychology is a science of mind. Mind is certainly concentrate in comparison to soul, but it is also not a matter of observation by eye, because mind also cannot be seen. If it cannot be seen, then how the same problem, how experiment can be done on mind? It is also difficult to observe and experiment upon mind. So there was brought about another change in the definition of psychology. Now psychology was presented as the teacher of consciousness. But the word consciousness, so if it is an immobile or static matter, while mind is not matter but a process. Secondly, in psychology, we study both kind of mental process, means conscious and unconscious. Unconscious mind is much larger than conscious mind, because in every human body there is a mind, and that has two parts. One is unconscious, then second is conscious. unconscious mind is much larger than conscious mind, and it is affect the behavior of a man to a great extent. So by definition, psychology is a science of consciousness. Two is incomplete. So first believer that defined that psychology is a science of soil. Then over the period that it has been defined that science is the psychology is the science of mind. And thereafter, after many experience and many researches, they define that psychology is a science of consciousness, but it is also too complete that it cannot be correct that psychology is a science of consciousness. So from the above discussion, the most accepted meaning of psychology can be derived. The science is a derived as a science. Next, yeah. So we can conclude that psychology is a only science. Psychology is said to be a science on the following: like science, it emphasizes on search for truth. It study fact of behavior and describe the law of governing them. Then second important, who is indicating that psychology is a science, that is, it adopt the method of systematic inquiry and scientific approach as used by the sciences. Like other sciences, psychology has a pure and applied aspects. With all this belief discussion, it can be concluded that psychology is a science. So, by going the all discussion, first believer that defined that science psychology is a science of soul, and further the psychologist and educationists define that science psychology is a science of mind. Then further it has been developed that science psychology is a science of consciousness, and thereafter many discussion and many deliberation. Now the psychology is being accepted that science psychology is a science, and the reason is given A, B, C, and D. Next. So there are so many definitions because as we discussed that psychology is the science of kind of behavior and as well as mind. So there are two theories. One is behaviorist, who defines psychology is a scientific study of behavior, but the definition put forward by the behaviorist has four problems, which are as follows. Behavior has no meaning by itself. Behavior is not automatic. It is done by someone towards some end. Behavior does not always represent experience of man. It does not correctly study experience. Behavior can be sometimes artificial. Even human body, you can see their behavior sometimes original and sometimes artificial. You must have seen that pupil is laughing, but not from their inner side. That laughing is kind of artificial. Psychology studies consciousness too, in addition to behavior, whereas behaviorist has limited it to the study of behavior only. So some definitions has given based on the studies. Woodworth and this Marcuse in 1949 defined that as the scientific study of activities of individual in relation to his environment. Means psychology is the scientific study of activities of individual in relation to his environment. Mann, he's also defined that psychology concern itself with the scientific investigation of behavior. So many definitions comes. Murphy said that psychology is a science that studies the responses which the living individuals make to their environment. So these are some definitions, and you must have go through your study material. There are so many other definitions also. You can see. So, what kind of positive science is psychology? So, it is not so perfect as the sciences like physics, chemistry, and mathematics. It is behavioral science which deals with the behavior of an individual. This behavior is quite dynamic and unpredictable because behavior changes time to time. It is kind of dynamic nature and unpredictable. On the other hand, the physical relations which are studied by the natural sciences are also predictable always predictable. This make the study in natural sciences more exact because the study or the practicals in natural sciences are more exact, more accurate, and more objective. Whereas the psychology has not yet attained the status of these sciences, although it is lying hard to be more objective, exact, and accurate. So psychology is a science, but not as exact other natural science like physics, chemistry, and mathematics. It is a developing positive science. Although psychology is termed as positive science, but it is not so much developed as the natural sciences. Psychology is a science as it is stressed the search of truth because psychology is used for study of truth. It adopts the method of scientific inquiry to the study of behavior and formulate laws governing. The psychology is the developing positive science of behavior, taking the comprehensive meaning of the term behavior means now it can be defined that the psychology is the positive science of behavior. So there are so many branches of psychology. There are general psychology, social psychology, physiological psychology, child psychology, abnormal psychology, experimental psychology, adolescent psychology, adult psychology, and comparative psychology, and other is parapsychology. General psychology, which deals the fundamental principles of psychology, and the social psychology deals with the social behaviors of the child or individual or the group. Physiological is related to nerve, muscles, and organs or tissues of the human body. Child psychology deals with the overall development of the child and what are their needs. Abnormal psychology, it is linked with the abnormality, means kind of disabled, and kind of psychoanalysis or physiotherapy also comes in the abnormal psychology. Experimental psychology attains learning, memory, mental process can also be understood by using experimental psychology. Adolescent psychology deals with the adolescent pupil with their emotions, mental and social development. Adult psychology, the mental development of adult is studied in the adult psychology. Comparative, where two psychology are being compared, means human psychology as well as animal psychology. Parapsychology is a branch of psychology aims at studying superconscious mind is studied. Means parapsychology is being used to study the superconscious mind of human body. So these are some branches of psychology. Advantage of psychology. What is the advantage of psychology and what is the need to understand psychology? So it is because it gives kind of explanation of behavior. If we as a teacher are aware the behavior of the child, so we can teach accordingly, we can nurture accordingly. So psychology helps us to analyze the behavior of individual by using scientific methods. Sometimes you find that an adult person behave like a child, while a child may act like an adult person for elder than his age. So why do such behavior take place, that we should be aware, and answer to these questions can be found in the psychology, and which kind of nurturer is required in different age group. Prior information of behavior, by learning the psychology, teacher as well as parents will be able to understand the prior information of behavior, means which kind of behavior of child and which kind of which how child act in their behavior. So psychology helps in analyzing the behavior of man. This analyze enable us to understand behavior of man. It gives us prior information about certain behavior. Modify behavior and environment, it is also advantage of to know the psychology, because after knowing the behavior science or behavior of the individual, so we can modify the behavior by learning the behavioristic science and psychology, and we can modify the environment also. So we can either make our behavior in conformity with the atmosphere by the improving upon it, or can improve upon the atmosphere itself. This is the advantage of psychology. How psychology is helpful? So psychology is helpful for society, and society include teachers, school principals and administrator, and leadership for parents, for students also. So for a teacher, how it is help to the teacher who know the interest of their students teach lessons accordingly to the knowledge of ability, intelligence, interest, attitude and aptitude, etc. of the students. Therefore teachers should be trained. So for principal administrator to manage the affair of a school and to arrange the quality education, a principal or administrator need to know about the desire, abilities and interest of teacher as well as students. For efficient leadership, yes, it is necessary for successful leader to influence popular opinion and respect the popular sentiments. For parents, it is equally important. Sometimes the parents can be heard complaining that the son or daughter caused trouble greatly. But teacher and parents may discuss the cause of such behavior by studying the psychology, and accordingly they can act as a remedial task, or they can give some modification in the behavior and as well as the atmosphere. For the students with the understanding of psychology, a learner can also analyze the conditions of learning and choose an appropriate method of learning. But although psychology, it cannot be applicable for infant and 0 to 6 age, but for adult students, they should also be aware about the psychology. Educational psychology is the psychology which is being used in educational purpose. The job of a teacher is to bring out the hidden potentialities in learner. It is the basic main of education. Thus, a teacher need to understand the basic principle of educational psychology for bring out optimum development of their learners. Educational psychology has some certain aims at answering following question: what are the inherent in the child, what are the powers of child, and what are the abilities of child, in what measures are these abilities found in the child, and how can these abilities can be developed fully. So these are the uh, educational psychology aims. And one is the most important educationist and psychologist, which is name is Skinner, BF Skinner. He has given two definitions. Educational psychology covers the entire range of behavior and personality as related to education. Educational psychology is the branch of psychology which deals the teaching and learning. So these are the two definitions given by the Skinner. Nature of educational psychology, which type of nature should be of educational psychology. Educational psychology is the study of human behavior as it is influenced by the social process. Educational psychology also studies those process, those progress, those uh, kind of methods which provides an understanding of the way in which the modifications are brought in the behavior. Means it is also describe the change of behavior of the child. Important characteristics of the nature of education psychology: it combines two fields, education as well as psychology. It is scientific study of human behavior in educational situation. It is one of the many branches of applied psychology. It is concerned with those factors, principles, and techniques which relate to the various aspects of child's growth and development. It is concerned with the learning situations and the process by which learning can be made more effective, more efficient. Nature of psychology. Educational psychology draw heavily from various branches of psychology: biology, sociology, and anthropology. Educational psychology is not as exact as natural science, although it is very clear if the psychology name is added that it is a science, but it cannot be as exact as the natural sciences are there, like physics, chemistry, and math, since the human behavior cannot be predicted exactly. Education psychology is a science of education dealing primarily with how, when, and what type of education is dealt by the education psychology. What are the scope of education psychology? Some problems of education is learning, learning, and learning. Means only one problem of education is learning, how it should be process and what method should be learning, and how learner can understand learning in proper and efficient manner. So following are the five major areas covered under education psychology. There are four important. One is learner, who is the center of all educational process, and the second is learning process, what learning process teachers are adopted, what are the learning situations, means that is the environment, means classroom conditions and curriculum and all. The teaching situations means schools is there, administration principal is there, means which in which situation, even society, role of society is also important in teaching situations. And the last one, evaluation of learning performance, which type of evaluation process are being used in the school to uh, assess the improvement in the education process or learning process. So it is summative, or it is kind of formative, or it is criterion or reference evaluation is done. So it is the evaluation also. One is the important factor or important areas which should be covered under the educational psychology. In addition to learning, the study of educational process is also included in the study of educational psychology. Educational psychology also provide the principles to better the mental health of teachers as well as the students. Problems of personality, it is also deal by the psychology. Personality, intellect and integrity of teachers and students are studied under the subjects of education psychology. Thus, the education psychology attempt to remedy several problems of teaching learning process. So, this is about the education psychology and psychology. So, today we have covered what is the psychology and what is the opinions and what are the definitions and what are the importance of psychology and why teachers as well as parents should understand the psychology, and what is education psychology, what is the role of education in learning. So this is the kind of discussion. So what is next? Yeah, contribution of education psychology in education. There are most important contributions of education psychology is that education psychology is being understood by the teachers, learners, parents, how basically it is in correct manner, in right manner it contribute, help in realizing educational aims. Without the knowledge of psychology, it is very difficult to realize the aim of education, measurement of learning outcomes, and what learning outcomes has been achieved. This is with the help of educational psychology. To understand problems of learners, if we are aware that educational psychology means we are aware the learner's problem, and we are aware then how we can solve the problems of learner, helping in maintaining discipline. Educational psychology help the teachers to understand the nature of child strength and weakness, interest, aptitude, etc., and which are very helpful to maintain the discipline in classroom. Choosing effective teaching methods, by knowing the behavior of child, the teacher can change, teacher can adapt the teaching methods as per the need of classroom as well as the individuals. To understand individual differences, by knowing the individual difference, teacher can use the effective teaching methods, effective techniques for teaching. To understand the development characteristics, a teacher should know the characteristics of learner for proper instructions and molding their behavior according to the specified goal of education. Emphasize the role of teacher, by knowing the education psychology, the role of teacher is defined in very well manner. The learner's attitude, emotions, feelings should be respected, and then only proper learning can take place. So this is the discussion of unit 4, and by because I have some other meeting also, so we will try to complete even today's session tomorrow. Thank you, and for this very short session, we will discuss later tomorrow and the next sessions and as well as the tomorrow session. So thank you. Today is no questions. Thank you. Have a good day. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.